The next type of input I want to show you is the select box. This input basically allows a drop-down list of various options which the user can select. And we can see this just here. If we scroll down to the subject here, we can click on this and be presented with various different ones. Now this is a slightly different type of select box which we're going to look at now, but we'll get onto this type just soon. So first of all, I'm just going to tidy things up a little bit inside of our form and separate our sections so they're more clear. So let's have our name section and some space between each div. Then we can close off these checkboxes too. So these all group together like this. And then let's group together our email and phone response section. So now these are all grouped, I'm going to add our select just below the message area. So this is our message area here. So let's make some space and also create our div section for this. This time we use the select element rather than a input. So we'll add the select just like that. The select, just like all the others, I'm going to give a ID and we'll call this the subject. So this select box is going to add a list of options which the user can select as their message subject. As well as the select, we can also add a label too. And because we have the ID attribute, we can also add the 4 attributes of subject. And then a text inside of subject too. Inside of here, each item in the drop down is wrapped in a option element. And this goes between the select tags. So before we do that, let's just check this out in the browser. So there's our label of subject, and you can see we have the input here. If we click on it, we don't have any options to select from just yet. So let's add these with our option elements. So let's add the first one in. And inside of here, we can add our text, which will appear inside this select box. So the first one can be returns. And let's see this in action. So there's returns just there. We can also add a value too. This value attribute will enable us to pass a select value with the form when we submit it. So the value of this one can be returns. And then let's just copy and paste this in a few more times. So this one can be faulty item and a options value of faulty item. And I'm going to use a underscore just instead of having a space here. And the next one for delivery info and the value of delivery. This one can be for order tracking. Next, an option of advice. Then finally, we'll just add one more, and this can be other. Okay, give that a save. And let's give this a go inside the browser. Reload, and then click on our select. So here we're presented with a list of all the options which we added inside the select. By default, we can only select one of these values at a time. So as soon as we clicked on this, the select is then collapsed. If we want to select more than one, we can add a multiple attribute to the opening select tag. So just after the ID, we can add multiple. And then let's go over, reload, and we can press Command or Control to select more than one value. I'm going to remove this for now as we don't need this inside of our project, but it is useful to know it's there. We can also group together any related options. Rather than having just one long list, we can use the opt group element to group together certain related subjects. So returns and faulty item I'm going to group together. So I'm going to cut both of these values out and then use the opt group element, and then we can paste these back inside. We need to then give this opt group a label, and this is the text which will appear on the screen above both of these grouped sections, and you'll see this more clearly in just a moment. I'm going to add the text of product issues and save that. So let's see how this looks. If we expand, we see in the faint text at the top we have product issues, which is a label we added, and then slightly offset to the right we have our two grouped items here. So next we have delivery and tracking information. So this can be grouped together into delivery. So let's cut these two options out and add our options group, and then paste these back in. The text label for this one can be delivery. And then down at the bottom we can group advice and other into a other group. So one more opt group, paste these last two in, and then our label simply of other. So now we have our three separate options groups. These should now all be displayed in the browser. So reload, open this up, and we have now three different groups all together. Notice we can't also click on this label either of delivery, other, and product issues. This is just simply there for information. So now we have our select box in place. We're now going to look at a more recent addition to HTML forms, which is the data list. And we'll take a look at this next.